So, Countess, tell me what's on your mind.
Well, Doc, I guess stress has been getting to me lately.
I'm sorry to hear that. How long has this been going on?
I have had a tendency to be a little stressed out most of the time, but it has gotten worse the further I've gotten into college.
Any examples that come to mind?
One experience comes to mind. Toward the end of my third year, I was particularly stressed out because of deadlines. Almost exactly like Twilight in Lesson Zero. Kinda scary how similar my situation was now that I think of it.
I can only imagine. Do you remember what led up to that?
There were several factors, but I must say the biggest one was time and losing track of it. The closer the end of the semester came, the more and more I wanted to shut down and just collapse under the pressure I was putting myself under.
So, like Twilight, you became so caught up with other projects that you neglected to properly prepare for the end of the semester? Or was it more that you had become distracted with everyday activities for fun that you kept putting off your end of semester projects intentionally?
I guess it would be the day-to-day activities. Not really the fun ones, but just the things that at time I thought needed to be done, while the big, scary project I had to do for class was pushed aside, growing larger the longer I tried to hide from it, until I couldn't ignore it anymore.
I see. Might I ask what would have happened if you weren't spending your time on the smaller, everyday projects? Or would it have made a difference if you really didn't have anything else holding you back from starting on the big, scary project as long as you had plenty of time to work on it still?
Most likely, I wouldn't have been stressed to that crippling point.
So perhaps you need to find ways of focusing on those bigger projects long before it becomes an issue. Overcoming that fear of tackling such a huge workload a little bit here and there. Might I ask, when was the last time you took on a major project and managed to finish it quicker than you had anticipated?
Well, I was picked to illustrate a textbook. I had to produce around 300 images in roughly a 4-month period. I was actually able to complete it with some time to spare.
And that likely had to do with the fact that you were really enjoying the work. I'm sure that happens to most everyone when it comes to big projects. When the passion is there, we find the ability to overcome most any obstacle. However, I'm sure that this major project which caused you to become stressed out happened to be something you really weren't looking forward to working on?
Hit the nail on the head there, Doc. I was out of my element, is the best way I can put it. But I guess that is how life is. You sometimes have to force yourself to do things that you're not all that excited about.
Which begs the question, how? How do we focus our efforts on a project so large in scale when we have little to no interest in completing it?
That's a question I ask myself a lot. Trying to force motivation for something I wouldn't care about besides the fact I'm being forced in a situation to deal with it.
I suppose in my experience, it really comes down to seeing things from a bigger picture, and a willingness to put aside your own needs for the sake of others. We live in a society of fast food, instant streaming, and immediate answers to the most trivial of questions with just a touch of a button. We've become so used to the rush of instant gratification that we're becoming less and less interested in anything that would take us out of our comfort zones and challenge our limits. However, the only way we tend to grow and improve in life is by testing those limits on a regular basis, which means that we really have to do things that we aren't comfortable with. I've learned from personal experience that the best opportunities only become available after going through a seemingly unending drudge of work that we really aren't thrilled to do in the first place. And so many people seem to spend their time avoiding that path until time is close to running out, or constantly looking for shortcuts and end up not learning anything from the experience. But I want to emphasize that we really shouldn't be looking for what's easy. We should be looking for what's worthwhile. Though that doesn't mean that you should spend all of your free time trying to challenge yourself with something outside of your comfort zone. But if you want to avoid those overly stressful situations in the future, then I would advise that you build a habit of trying to push your limits just a little bit more each day. Think of a goal that you know you would feel immensely satisfied reaching, but would include a long road of drudgery along the way. And start getting into the habit of pushing aside a bit more of your everyday activities to focus a little more on that long-term dream. And if you can slowly get used to a mindset of work is good and play must be earned, that will help immensely the next time you run into a stressful situation. Do you think you can try doing that for me, Countess?
I think I can handle that. It would also give me a chance to work on my time management skills, which could use some work as well.
I sincerely hope so, Countess, and I wish you best of luck in your endeavors. Shall we continue on this next week?
Sounds good to me. This has been very helpful. I feel a lot more at ease, to say the least. Thanks, Doc.
Glad to be of service. Take care, Countess. It's good to be helping.